Hey there, planners. Today we're talking about bullet journal terms and phrases that a beginner is going to run into as they're getting started. I've been bullet journaling for 6 years now. I started bullet journaling after stumbling onto a pin on Pinterest that talked about bullet journaling. I quickly searched Pinterest and got very overwhelmed. There were a ton of terms that I just didn't understand and wasn't familiar with, like GSM and spreads and keys and indexes. It was a little bit frustrating for me at first. I had to spend a lot of time reading and researching, and that's exactly what we're talking about today. We're going to cover the 13 terms for Bullet Journal Lingo 101. This is a beginner's guide to bullet journaling. These are very simple terms, very simple concepts, just maybe not the most familiar words at this point. All right, so let's get started. All right, first things first, we're going to start with the term bullet journal because there are actually several definitions for this term. Originally, bullet journaling was a system developed by Ryder Carroll, an analog planning and journaling system that uses a notebook and a pen to organize and track various areas of your life. You use different bullet points, dots, arrows, squares, triangles to denote different actions. This term can also apply to any system that's a modification or customization of the original design by Ryder Carroll. This can include artistic work mixed with traditional journaling, themes to document and organize your life. This is typically what you would see if you search for bullet journaling on Pinterest. And then finally, the third definition is a bullet journal notebook. It actually refers to the physical notebook. A key feature of bullet journal notebook is that the pages are numbered, either pre-printed or handwritten in. For a second term, Bujo, B-U-J-O, is a shorthand term that can apply to all three definitions of bullet journaling. So you can have a Bujo, you can be using a Bujo system. There is some debate in the bullet journaling community about whether this is an acceptable term or not, but it is definitely something you'll run into as a beginner. Dot grid is our third term, and it's fairly self-explanatory. Dot grid is the pattern that is printed on the pages of your bullet journaling notebook. It is a grid of dots that creates rows and columns of squares across the page. Bullet journalers use dot grid notebooks almost exclusively. The reason for this is that the bullets give journalers the freedom from lined pages to get really creative, but also still gives some structure when you want to create lines or shapes. Our fourth term is key. A key is a legend that's used to identify and define the different types of coding that you would use in your bullet journal. This can define what specific types of bullets mean. For example, I'm sharing a picture of an older version of a key that I used here, and you can see that the box that's not colored in means a task. If it's halfway colored in, that means a task that's in progress. A box that has an X through it means something that I canceled. You can also use color codes as part of your bullet journal that would be captured in your key. So here, anything colored light blue is a work-related item, while anything colored yellow is a health-related item. Keys are generally found in the beginning of your journal. Some bullet journals, like the one I'm using here, actually have a page in the front specifically formatted for capturing your key. But you can also use some neat pop-outs from the back cover of your journal to capture your key so that you can pull it out when you need it for an easy reference. Our fifth term is index. Index is just a table of contents for the pages in your bullet journal, because remember, as we said, your bullet journal pages are typically numbered. Here's an example of an index in my current bullet journal. The index was pre-printed in the notebook, however, I've colored over it to match my overall theme for setup this year. Most bullet journals do have a pre-printed index, and here's what it looks like. The purpose of the index is to help you locate specific pages at a later time. Not everyone uses an index. A lot of bullet journalers just skip that step. However, if you feel like you might need help finding things after you've passed them, this would be a great tool. The next key term is future log. And future log is one of the features of bullet journaling that I use most consistently and find most useful. A future log is a longer-term view of the months or years ahead that allows space for capturing future events or tasks. Typically, this goes at the beginning or end of your bullet journal. Future logs can include miniature calendars for each month, along with space to write in what future events are coming up. I'm sharing 3 examples from 3 different bullet journals here of a future log. You can see each one is slightly different, however, the concept is the same. What's so useful about the future log is that as you're planning future months, you can flip back to the future log to make sure that there's nothing that needs to be scheduled in that month. Spreads are specific pages in your journal. Traditionally, the term spread was used to describe 2 facing pages in your notebook. However, it's not uncommon to hear it used to describe 1 or more pages that are related. I'm sharing an example here of a March monthly spread. There are actually 3 calendar-related spreads. Generally, they are monthly, weekly, or daily spreads. These are the heart of your bullet journal. This is more of an approach than a term, but it's a tricky concept in bullet journaling that beginners sometimes struggle with. So plan as you go is the way you set up and utilize your bullet journal. Traditional planners have all the months, weeks, and days already set up when you purchase it. With bullet journaling, you begin with a blank notebook and you plan for each month, week, and day as it comes. This allows you to utilize as much or as little space as you need. As an example, here I have the 4th week of the year set up and ready to go. And then I realize, you know what? I really need a master grocery list. So I turn the page and I add in a master grocery list with a sticky note shopping list to use. And then I turn the page and I set up the 5th week of the year so it's ready to go. There are a couple of modifications to the plan as you go method used by bullet journalers. You can set up an entire week or an entire month or the entire year ahead of time and put any additional pages at the end. Or you can just go with the flow, turn to the next blank page and put whatever you need in your bullet journal. There really is no right or wrong way, and for beginners, it's best just to try things out and see what works best for you. Our 9th key term is tracker. Trackers are used to document the regular occurrence of an activity, event, behavior, or habit. Trackers are used by bullet journals to track everything. For example, sleep, work hours, exercise, health, moods, finances, water intake, chores, and so on. Bullet journalers can get a little crazy with trackers. They can be set up on a yearly, monthly, weekly, daily, or even hourly basis. They involve tracking some habit when it occurs or doesn't occur. There are thousands of formats to use for trackers, ranging from very simple to very complex and even a bit artistic. Our 10th term is collections. Collections are non-calendar related spreads. These are used to document themed information for reference later by the bullet journaler. Examples include routines, bills to pay, account passwords, pen collections, household inventories, birthdays of friends and loved ones, wish list items, nail polish samples, master grocery list, and so on. The list could go on and on. Collections are a fantastic part of bullet journaling and give you a place to find all the important information or just information that you regularly use. A common question by beginners is, where do you put collections in your journal? There is no right or wrong answer to this. Some people prefer to keep their collections separate from their calendar spreads, and they do this by either starting in the beginning or the back and capturing collections or calendar spreads in a specific section of the journal. Some people fully embrace the plan as you go, and if they need a collection, they just turn to the next page and put it there. Other people have even gone as far as to fully separate their collections from their calendar spreads in 2 separate journals. Again, there is no right or wrong method here. It's really what your preference is, and as a beginner, you should try them all to see what works best for you. Our 11th term is themes. Themes are used in bullet journaling to add decoration or style to your journal spreads. Themes can be based on a period of time or a specific spread or even a collection. They can even go across your entire journal. For example, a theme for the month of June might be summer berries and fruit. Some folks use themes, some don't. It really depends on personal preference, and so as a beginner, it's completely up to you. The 12th term we'll talk about is GSM, which is actually an acronym for grams per square meter. This is one of those terms as a beginner that I had no clue what meant, but over the years I have become passionate about. Bullet journalers take their GSM very seriously. It is an indication of the weight or thickness of the paper in a journal, and thereby the quality of the paper of a journal. Most notebooks or standard copy paper is 80 GSM. Bullet journaling notebooks known for their higher quality paper are at least 120 GSM and sometimes much higher. Why is this important to bullet journalers? The GSM of the paper in your bullet journal can indicate whether certain markers or pens will bleed through the paper or show ghosting on the next page. Bleeding through means that the ink has actually seeped through one page and onto the next. Ghosting means that there is a visible shadow on the back side of the page from the ink written on the front side. Bleeding and ghosting can affect the look of your pages in your bullet journal, which is not what we want to see. Our 13th and final term is actually the alphabet number soup of journal sizes. These letter number combinations are an indication of the size of a notebook. A standard size piece of paper that is letter size is 8.5 by 11 inches. In notebook sizes, that's an A4. A composition notebook size is B5, which is approximately 7 by 10 inches. The most common size of bullet journal is an A5, which is 5.83 by 8.27 inches. Selecting a notebook by size can be based on what you're planning to use your journal for. We made it through all 13 terms and nothing was too complex. And now you know what these terms mean if you are doing your research or looking to buy new products. If you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you know a beginner bullet journaler who could really use a quick lesson in what these terms mean, be sure to share this video with them. And as always, subscribe to Planning Annie for more videos like this. Thanks for planning with me.